Hello, if it is Thursday, it is time to think. That's what Trainertainment and ThinkTank Thursday is all about. I'm Beth Standlee, founder and CEO of Trainertainment, and I am so excited to share my friend, my long time friend, feels like my brother in so many ways, Jeff Ernst. I met Jeff. Let's see, Jeff. I can see you and your dad walking toward me at a St. Louis airport in probably what would that have been, 99, 2000?
That was like mid-90s, wasn't it?
Midnight. It was a while ago. You were just a kid.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, just a boy. And I remember you and your dad walking toward me. I'll never forget. I thought, oh, those guys are cute. Those are cute little guys. And we have laughed. Oh my word! How much have we laughed in those 20+ years?
It's been a ton. It's been a ton of growth for both of us. I mean, we were just getting into the card system, believe that or not.
Oh, I know. I think I finally talked you into your first card system. I don't know if that was a good thing or bad, but it did create a very long relationship. Jeff
You're
is
persistent, that's for sure.
I was. I nearly quit. That's one of the only sales jobs I nearly quit because it took me a long time to ever close the deal. And you guys were first to the table. You changed my life. That's for darn sure. Yeah, for sure. Well, Jeff is the CEO of ACS Amusements, and they are game providers and do revenue share with, gosh, how many locations, Jeff?
50 plus.
Oh, wow. Oh, and over the years, hundreds.
Hundreds, yeah.
You probably have, I don't know, we've done the math before. You've got, I don't know, how many games do you have out in the field?
Oh, we've probably got 2,500 games.
Wow. And the client that we were co-cliented on was Gaddy's, a large franchise, the largest franchisee, I think, in the Gaddy's,
right.
Gaddy's brand, and helped me learn lots and lots about pizza. And I know when I created Trainertainment, it was a very natural shift to move from that relationship. Your dad was very instrumental in putting me in front of Bill Boone, the owner of that franchisee, and we did, oh my gosh, at Trainertainment we worked with that Gaddy's and really corporate Gaddy's too for, I don't know, 12 or 13 years. I mean, almost the whole time we've been in business. They were one of our first big clients. So, yeah. So Jeff is a very good friend of mine. How you doing, Jeff, and all this COVID crap?
Well, we're doing good. It's been a challenge, something that, obviously we've never experienced before. Even back when things got tough in 07, 08, we never had to lay anyone off. We were able to, scale things, scale up and just keep everybody working. So, the prospect of laying people off was, what was
terrible.
Yeah, it was heartbreaking. How do we take care of our staff while they're laid off? How do we make sure they've got, health care and getting them on the unemployment process? And it was that was a tough week.
Well, and difficult to do anything different. I mean, every single entertainment complex that you have games placed in is closed.
Yeah, we started seeing the first locations fall the second week of March. Mm-hmm. And kind of saw the writing on the wall, and I think our last location was, March like 15th, 16th maybe.
Yeah.
So they're really, and everybody on staff was, understanding. They got it. They knew that to get out of this, that we couldn't pay them through this. And right. So, I'm fortunate to have a great staff. A staff that's been with us for half the staff is, Matt's been here 25 years. We hired him when he was 16. He lied on his application, said he was 18. And so, I'm fortunate in that way. So they were gracious and did what they could. Wives and husbands got jobs, Kroger's, and, because, quite frankly, the unemployment process, was so tough to get through and process. And that was my fear. These guys are going to go a couple of weeks without a paycheck. So.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. I think we all think about it and come at it from a different vantage point, right? As a business owner, we're thinking about the 10, 20, 50, 70, some of our clients, right, have 150 employees. We're thinking about all those lives and their families. And it's a lay awake at night time. I mean, it really is. And I think there's some great opportunity out there as well. I think that there are some, my word choices are unintended outcomes that we can't even know. And to that end, you've been dreaming and scheming about how in the world do we get game room open? Because even when they're talking about, we've seen some stuff, a couple of locations have tried to open, a couple of locations successfully opened, a couple tried and said, no, the public had too big of a breakdown. And with gaming in particular, how are we going to socially distance? How are we going to clean up after ourselves, keep things where moms and dads feel okay about their kids playing? Like what's the talk on your side?
Well, I think you hit it. We've got to abide by this distancing rule and make ultimately mom feel safe bringing her kids to our facilities. And, I think that doing the distancing and the cleaning and making sure that we are following every customer, making sure that the games are wiped down, and overstaffing and managing the traffic flow. It really became a traffic flow issue for us, where how do we corral people going the same direction so that they're not bumping into each other and face to face, on top of this at least the 6 feet of distancing. And so it's challenging when you've got a big room of equipment, big heavy equipment. Where do you put it? How do you space it?
Do you think people will have to remove games and
Absolutely.
Yeah, but couldn't that almost be a benefit too? Because couldn't you change your game room up a little more often?
Well, it almost makes you look at your list and say, okay, these games weren't producing anyway. So now talk about the, opportunity is to maybe get rid of some of those games that you were holding on to a little too long, move those out while you separate and distance all the earners. And then when we get back to full force, we can then replace those with upgraded games.
That's great. Well, you did a wonderful layout to try to help the state of Texas, right? Understand here's what we're going to do. This will be okay. Let us open. We don't want to just open the restaurant. We want to, because at a Gaddy's, isn't it about a 50-50 split with regard to revenue, that the games generate as much revenue as the food?
It is, and it's definitely one feeds off the other. I mean, the customer's going for the entertainment, and one without the other just reduces overall revenue because of the whole purpose of the entertainment piece.
Yeah. Well, if you don't mind, share your screen and kind of show the mechanics of. I think I'm interested in see the flow you're talking about, and even how you put games together to keep people away from each other. Oh, yeah. I see that. So even players that are at each end of games. That's clever because you collect the games together, but you've got players, you've got them facing opposite directions.
Right.
Yeah.
So the first challenge was to get an entrance that would separate people from facing when they're facing each other, would give them the distancing. So if you look, if I can figure out how to maybe draw on this a little bit. Um, so coming in this way, right, the entrance, and then the egress coming out this way. One of the challenges was to get a separation between people walking in and people walking out. So we created this 6-foot space between the entrance and the exit so that people were 6 feet apart, and we blocked this off with, we grabbed tables. You know, the other thing of the restaurant, they had their occupancy is reduced, so they had plenty of tables to work with, and so it was convenient to use those as barriers.
Oh, great. Okay.
Type. So we lined this corridor up with tables, and then put arrows on the floor to guide the customer in on the right side, out on the left side.
Okay. Oh, and you physically put.
Yeah. So like
kind of. Okay.
Yeah. So like that area there. Let's see. So this area here becomes a separation.
Gotcha.
So it's important to separate, and you know, you want to, if you think about this, it's almost taking the model of the grocery store aisleways, so that you can create one-way flows and not get and avoid people bumping into each other face to face. So then once they're in the game room, we created islands of games, and we pushed the games. The games are 6 feet apart, but they're also back to back. They're alternate, so that you don't have
you don't have anybody sitting next to each other playing.
You don't have anybody sitting next to each other. You know, it's not going to be the prettiest thing, but you know, at this point, you know, the aesthetics aren't as important as the functionality. You know.
What about games, Jeff? What about games? You know, a racer where people are normally next to each other. Do you have to simply pull those out, or are they just not going to be able to compete with one another?
That's you know, you're going to lose some playability with these games here, like you're talking about. These are racing games.
Okay.
And so you're going to have to separate those, because you can't sit next to each other in that proximity.
Okay.
You know, so you're going to lose. You're going to have to unlink them. You're going to have to move them apart. You know, we've got big basses that we put, you know, our big bass game that, you know, when you put two together, they have a bonus sign. You're going to have to take your bonus sign off and separate those.
Okay.
We also then took the other consideration was all the alley games. Over here, you know, you got skee balls.
Oh, yeah.
So not only are you only, you know, you're reducing the amount of PlayStations because only one person could play the three, you're also going to have to limit. What we came up with is, instead of putting 8 balls in there, we're going to put 3, so that after every play, you can wipe 3 down a lot quicker than you would have to wipe all 8 balls down. And the same with the basketballs. You know, you're gonna have to wipe down the basketball, the actual basketballs after you play.
Wow. See, those are not even things I had considered. Is there something that we can do? And you probably thought of all this already. Like in my mind, I was talking with some folks on a call where you might do play and spray. You know, Disney taught people to keep their parks clean by putting trash cans every 10 feet. And so nobody littered in the park because you always had a place to throw trash away. Is there something that we could put on games or something that where the customer would be able to play and then spray or play and wipe? So, you know, is there anything like
it's a great idea. You know, we're already conditioned at the gym, right, to
yeah,
spray down your own equipment. So I think the spaces between these games, you know, like the space here, would lend itself really well to a stand where you could put, you know, some towel dispenser or
mm-hmm.
roll of towels in a spray bottle. It's a great idea. Um, you know, new times. I mean, once we get people thinking like that, they're going to do it because they're going to want the customer before them to do it. And with the social pressure, I think, of staying distant, wearing masks, and being responsible, I think it's just a training the customer, and I think they'll pick up on that.
Well, because the amount of, I can't even imagine the amount of staff that it would take to keep an eye on. And, you know, when you started talking about wiping down the basketballs and wiping down balls, I'm like, oh, no kidding. Who's going to want to touch those once somebody else touches them? Well, we have to think of that.
Yeah. And you know, Beth, you know, this is when you put things on paper, and our process of installing game rooms, you always start out in 2D and create a 3D model. But then once you get inside and you're inside the operations, things are going to change. We have to be willing and able to on the fly listen to our customers and make changes that need to be made.
Well, I'm impressed. I'm impressed at least that you're ahead of the game here and you're thinking, because these game rooms are a significant piece of revenue for the clients that we serve. And we got to figure out a way to make it work. And so when you and I were talking about this, I was just like, oh man, do you mind showing the public? Because just from a thinking perspective, I don't think there's anything better that we need to be thinking about right now as far as the go back to market. Can you talk to me about the redemption counter? And I just love the way you've managed the flow. You've thought of everything. If they go in the circle, they've got all the lines that get them in and out. The grocery store drives me crazy. This looks logical to me. The grocery store, I go down one aisle and then they make me skip an aisle, and then I got to go down the other aisle and come back. And I'm like, how come I can't? Why didn't they just do every other aisle? But they don't. They do like 2 in 1 or something. And I'm sure there's something smart to that, but it doesn't make sense to me. This makes beautiful sense.
Well, you know, the challenge is, and this again is going to be the other piece of this, Beth, is going to be the limiting the amount of people in the room. So we have about 48 stations to play in here. And so, you know, we're going to be able to manage it a lot easier if we don't have huge crowds at the redemption center. So, you know, if we have 48 games, you know, maybe 50 then is the capacity in the game room. And we already had this queuing fencing up here. But that's not going to be enough because you can't put anybody on this side. So literally all this has to be a straight line. I was in Lowe's over the weekend, and they did a really nice job. You know, they took one aisle 6 and you stacked aisle 6 with checkout, and then they pulled one person at a time to 3 or 4 different cashiers, but it kept everybody in a single line, organized. And, you know, you approached aisle 6 and it was all the way down, you know, aisle 6, and you got some complaints because they couldn't see the other end. And they're like, oh my gosh, this is going to take forever. But at the end of the day, you know, we have to keep people facing the same way, keep them 6 feet apart, and then they'll be called up and from this line, and we can do 2 at a time, but we have to keep, you know, we have to keep these spaces here separate as well. And And then what we're going to do is we're going to hand the merchandise. Using the card system's nice because the customer can reach out and we can scan the card, so we don't have to touch the card. They hold on to the card, and we will place all their merchandise in a bag. And we're going to hand the bag to the parent, who then will take the bag and my thought is they'll clean it when they get home and then give the kid their prizes.
Are you doing anything with displaying merchandise, for instance, in that, where it says line for redemption counter? Are there any ways to, with signage or whatever, to display ticket, point prize, points for prizes? Because I would assume, any child, that's always such a guest service point of contact, and it's the last point of contact so often, and children can't make up their minds, and it's overwhelming. There's all this stuff. So it seems like if in this line they could be dreaming and scheming about what they want, that might be helpful.
Yeah. So what we talked about doing is getting some more counters and setting them here, just for viewing. And the other thing we're going to do, just like we're pulling back on the number of games, we're going to pull back the number of merchandise SKUs a little bit, just because some things may not even equate to being used, like any neon teeth, right? No one's going to put anything in their mouth, but there are some ways where we can reduce the amount of choices so that this line moves quicker too.
That's interesting. There's got to be a bazillion other things to think about. What else is here and relevant so that people can know and use? This is such a help, Jeff. This is such a help.
Well, and I just think that where I see when we're in action, I just really feel like, since our demographic is, our children, that we're really going to have, and we're hoping that obviously the parent is walking in with them, but the culture of the Gaddies, especially since you have the food in the front of the building and the games in the back, is a lot of the culture has been, kids go back and play, here's $10, and we're going to sit and finish our meal or just relax. So we're going to encourage the parents to go into the game room with the kids, because the success of this is going to depend on everybody staying in this flow. Kids aren't going to pay attention to the arrows on the floor and the red lines around. So it's going to be a huge education piece for the customer on how to interact with each other and stay within the guidelines.
The great thing about children, though, they're resilient and they do learn fast. And I think, just like all of us, they're going to look forward to a little bit of play that is different than what they're doing right now. So,
well, I agree, and I think this the pent up energy and boredom is going to, I think that we're going to do well, even though we don't have as many games. I think that the revenue could be, it's not, we're not going to get back to where we were, but if we could get to 50%, revenue, I think we can cover our costs. I think we can make a little bit of money, and I think we can gain a little bit of a momentum so that our customers are thinking about us. And when we do open 100%, they appreciate that, we were able to get open safely and put them first.
That's awesome. Well, that's fantastic. Thank you, Jeff. Thanks for sharing this. And I assume it will be very helpful to the audience. If somebody wanted to connect with you about any of this type of help, how would they connect with you?
Well, you can go to our website and connect with us that way. It's acsamusements.com, or you can call me directly, and my number is 513-591-4983.
If you'll stop sharing, I want them to see your beautiful face big, because I want to ask you our normal, regular think tank question. I am fighting to do things as normally as possible, and so any think tank guest that comes to share time with us always has to answer this final question. And before I do that, I just want to thank you so much, Jeff. This was special for me. You are a long time dear friend of mine. You guys your family's been in the entertainment industry for, gosh, how long, Jeff?
35 years.
At least, yeah. Your dad taught me so much about the gaming side of this business and how important of a piece it is in the whole entertainment center family side of things. So,
well, I want to take this time to thank you too, Beth, because, you know, when we got into the card system, we didn't understand anything about it, and it took us a while to make that decision. But, you know, with your background in the bowling industry and just the entertainment industry, you brought so much more to that experience, and we learned, and then bringing you came in and you straightened out our whole, our party business, our sales departments. Couldn't have done it without you.
Oh, thank you. Well, we learned a ton together. I mean, that's for darn sure. And I'm so grateful for the relationship, for sure. So to that, we're always interested at Trainertainment. You know, we believe in intentional learning and being in service to others, and have these core values that we live by: be intentional, perform high, and have fun. And we try to live those all the time. But then what our stated purpose is that we believe in growing people. And we think that when you grow people, that businesses grow, communities grow, and that it's really important, but it really starts with human being. I had a philosophical debate one time and tried to change and really believe the marketing ploy of it that business owners bought from us, because they thought, well, business, if we're helping them improve their business, that's why they would buy. But, you know, what I'm passionate about is growing people. And I think that the growth of the business is a result of growing people. And I don't know, maybe my marketing message is wrong, and maybe I should be sharing that your business is going to grow, but I believe that's a result. I think what we really, really do, and why we do it, and what gets me out of bed every day, is that we really help other people grow, because I think there's just nothing better. I don't think there's a better mission. I don't think there's a better purpose. And so to that end, I want to know what you do, Jeff, on a day-to-day basis or a month-to-month basis. What do you do consistently for yourself to help you grow, and even to help others potentially grow?
Well, you know, we're in the game business, but if you think about what we provide as the service side, you know, we go in and become a profit center for our customers. And, you know, you got to keep the games working. You got to put the right games in. And this goes back to my dad, right? He would say, it doesn't matter what games you put in, you know, they'll play them, just give me people. But at the end of the day, you create a true partnership with your customers. And a lot of our relationships are cemented by helping each other grow each other's business. I mean, I learn something from my customers every day on how they're doing things, and so you never want to, you know, you never want to stop listening to your customers and listening and you never want to pretend like you know everything. I mean,
Oh,
this situation we're in now, talk about learning. I mean, if we haven't learned something from what we're going through now,
we're not
we're
capable.
failing.
Yeah, we wouldn't be capable. That's what I'm saying about unintended outcomes. There's stuff we just don't know we're going to know,
Right.
you know?
It's a scary thing. There's businesses that are not going to come out of this alive, and it's frightful. But you can't operate in fear, right? Because then you're not planning and you're not moving. So how are you going to pivot? How are we going to pivot and get through this and get through this stronger? And I think that we're gonna be more in tune with our customers. My customers my customers are gonna be more in tune with their customers. And we're going to grow relationships through this, because there's going to be a bunch of personal stories that we're all going to share. And at the end of the day, we're all people trying to get through it together.
That's great. That's great. So what I heard was the thing you do for yourself as far as helping yourself grow is you really try to manage your relationships, and you're learning from others on a day-to-day basis. I bet you.
That's it.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. Well, I love you, man. I appreciate you doing Think Tank. It was awesome. We should have done one way before now. I've been doing Think Tanks almost a whole year. I can't believe we haven't done one till now.
Well, the situation, right?
Yeah.
Opportunity.
Yeah.
Crisis creates opportunity.
Well, it does. It does.
I love you, and I wanna plug your peer talk, because bringing people together like you have, honestly, because we yearn to be around people, and the lack of being around people has been hard, and so that's been a huge service, I think, that you're providing to everybody.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'm amazed every week. Peer Talk, if you don't know, is on Wednesdays at 1 o'clock at Central Time, at the same time, just on Wednesdays. And I had no idea how it would go, and it just has exploded. And the amount of information people are sharing with one another and the support is just incredible. And it was good to have you there yesterday, and hope to see you often.
Yeah, learned a bunch. Thank you.
Good. All right. Well, thanks. You know what I didn't plug, and I always sneak it in. Speaking of growing, what's the last book you read, Jeff? Have you had a chance to read this one?
That one's next.
All right. It's been out almost a year and you haven't read my book. I always plug my book during Think Tank. So.
I'm waiting for it just to show up on my door.
Let me make a note. And so I'll put that to my list. Send Jeff a signed copy. Got it. All right, man. Thanks so much.
All right. Love you, Beth.
Love you.